Compression is one of those things we hear about a lot when learning music production. You know you should be using it, but as a beginner or intermediate producer, it can be really hard to get your head around. I do feel there are some good videos out there, but I think some struggle to get to the point and explain it simply and clearly. So in this video, I'm going to go through the basics of using a compressor and some examples of how to use it so you can implement it into your tracks straight away. So if you find the video useful, make sure to give it a like and a subscribe and hit that bell notification so whenever I release a new video, you're notified straight away. Alright, without further ado, let's jump into the video. So the compressor is an automated volume control. It can be used to quieten louder peaks of a sound, it can provide energy, and it can also fatten sounds up as well. For this first example, I'm going to be using a compressor on this vocal. Vocals can have unwanted loud peaks, so the compressor is a good way of getting rid of these. So the vocal I have is playing at about minus 11 dB. I have set my threshold in my compressor to minus 14 dB. So the 3 dB above the minus 14 threshold will be compressed. Next we have the ratio, which determines how much compression is applied. If we use that vocal example again, playing at around minus 11 dB and a threshold of minus 14 dB, a ratio of 3 to 1 means that 3 dB above the threshold, only 1 dB of that will pass through, taking those unwanted peaks away. You can probably see this gain reduction bar next to the threshold. This shows you how much the compression is reducing the original signal. If I compress too much, the signal will be reduced so much that it will sound completely squashed. If I don't compress enough, however, I won't be able to hear the quieter parts, which will ultimately lead me to increasing the volume of the vocal, and it will just sound too loud in the mix. So the attack you see below the ratio, you want to think of that as the reaction time of the compressor. A fast attack and the compressor will kick in straight away and reach the full amount of gain reduction quickly. A slower attack time, however, lets a bit more of that initial signal through. If you want that initial sound to come through, a slower attack is the way to go. Next, you want to focus on the release, which is how long it takes to stop compressing. Faster release times will sound more natural, especially if you aren't using much compression. Lots of compression with a fast release can cause unwanted pumping sounds, or it will just sound like it's ducking a lot. Won't you come and play? So the more compression you have, a slower release time could be the way to go, as it will sound a lot smoother. Won't you come and play? Each sound is different, however, so you want to figure out what the goal is when using the compressor. Another example of using a compressor is to fatten up a kick sample. The goal here is to sustain that initial signal throughout. Here I got a fast attack so the compressor starts working immediately, and I've set the release to 125 milliseconds, which is about the length of the kick sample. So I've brought the threshold down. I don't want to completely squash the sound, however, and I've also brought the output level up to match the gain reduction, so we make up for that sound we lost with the compression. If I turn it off, you can hear the kick doesn't have that sustained fatness, but when I turn it on, you can hear that it's fatter throughout the kick, which is what we want. After you've done that, play with the dry wet and figure out how much of the signal you want compressed. 0% is no compression at all, and 100% is completely compressed. So play around with it and figure out what sounds good for you. Also, we have the knee, which adjusts how quickly the compressor responds as our kick sample exceeds the threshold. So the closer we are to 0, we have a hard knee, which starts compression immediately to its fullest amount. This is best for kicks, but for a vocal, it may be best to go for a softer knee with a higher value, so you don't kill that initial transient, and compression sounds much smoother. So thanks for watching, guys, and I hope that cleared a few things up in terms of compression. Hit the bell notification to remind you of my next video when that's released. We'll be touching on sidechain compression and parallel compression and how those can take your music to the next level. So yeah, hit the subscribe button for me, that would really be appreciated, and have a good rest of your week. Peace.